Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody joining us today. Thank you so much for joining today's partner presentation for training on the 8000 series appliances. My name is Mary Owen, and I am joined today by our hosts. We have Christophe Bertrand, who is the VP of Product Marketing here at ArcServe, and we also have John Benjamin, who is one of our principal consultants on the pre-sales team. The announcement for the appliance launch is going to be tomorrow, so please keep all of this information in this presentation confidential until then. During this presentation, we're going to be covering a lot of new material. I'm sure you'll have questions, so please do ask your questions using the questions section of the interface. We'll answer as many of them at the end of the presentation as possible, and if we haven't gotten to you, to your question, we will follow up with you afterwards. This session is being recorded, and it will be available on the partner portal, and it will also be emailed out to you on Wednesday. You'll see an email from ArcServe with that, so keep an eye out for it. And with that out of the way, take it away, Christophe.
Thank you very much, Mary. Hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here today to talk to you about our new appliance, which is the big announcement that we talked to you about in our invitation. So I'll give you a quick overview of what's new, what's coming, and some of the highlights of this launch, as well as go through the product messaging, its positioning. We'll cover some competitives briefly, and John Benjamin will help us through the licensing and the technical highlights. As Mary indicated, there are a number of questions I'm sure that will come that you can ask through the little interface on this tool here, and what we'll try to do is to go through as many as we can today. Just know that we're working on an FAQ type of document that will be made available to you through the partner portal, and we'll also use the questions from today's call to make sure that we cover every area on the document. I expect it will be a living document, so look for updates on a regular basis. So with this in mind, let's get into the details of our new appliance, which is the big announcement, the 8000 series. As you know, today we sell the 7000 series, and now we are introducing an appliance line or portfolio that's essentially enterprise grade. It's bigger, it's faster, it's stronger, it's got a number of new characteristics and capabilities that we're going to go through today. One of the things that I want to point out is that it changes over essentially from 7000 to 8000. So moving forward, we'll be selling the 8000 series only. We've added a number of enterprise-grade components. We have over 16 capacities in 4 base models to choose from. We can protect over 200 terabyte source, and by the way, on this one, your mileage may vary, and that's why we have some calculator examples and storage calculator examples at the end, so that you know exactly what to configure for the customer. Essentially what we've done is we've combined the simplicity of UDP with even stronger hardware to provide our customers in the mid-market with what we consider an enterprise-grade solution that you'll see has now the ability to go protect even larger capacity environments. So it's a secret until tomorrow, Eastern Time, American time, so 3 a.m., October 5th. So please keep this to yourself until tomorrow, and then after that we'll have all of our websites updated, the partner portal, etc. You can certainly talk about this product. The announcement is tomorrow. GA will be early November. Okay, GA is early November. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing to support this launch. There are a number of activities that we are undertaking as ArcServe globally. So first of all, I talked about the fact that tomorrow we have the press release. We will have a number of updates that are going to go live around the world. Our websites are translated in a number of languages, and we'll make sure that everything is up and running everywhere. So that happens concurrently with the press release. We'll also have a traditional demand generation and outreach type of programs immediately. So not only social media, but also we'll have an announcement email, and we have also a little interview, video interview that was that was prepared last week that will be released as part of the deliverables for the announcement. The big thing for those of you in the UK, in Europe, is IP Expo Europe. It's starting very, very soon. Actually, concurrently with the first day of that show, we've decided to announce the appliance. So IP Expo in London will be the first time that we talk about the appliance, and we're very, very happy to be able to make that happen at the same time. But that's not the only event. There will be not only an end-user webcast on the 12th, which will make global and available on replay. We're also going to be in Europe, in Barcelona, at VMworld Europe. So that's October 18th to 20th. And then for North America, we are at the Spice World trade show in Austin, Texas. So we'll have a number of also press initiatives. So what we're doing is making sure that we get a lot of coverage so that it makes it easy for you to reference this solution to your end users and to your customers. So lots going on. On the channel side, obviously the training's happening today. So this is it, and as Mary indicated, it will be made available on the partner portal. There'll be a replay link. So this content will be easily accessible. On the 5th, the partner portal updates go live. We will add to the portal a number of resources for the 8000, like the product brochure and at-a-glance documents, and there'll be more coming soon. We'll have the announcement email. We are also going to reach out to globally all of you through our newsletters, and then, as I mentioned, GA is early November. So in the meantime, please engage with us as you get into deals. We can help with quotes, and we will be sending, working with our distributors in terms of price books and the traditional logistics associated with releasing a new product and SKUs. We'll cover some of those SKUs at a high level with John in about 10 minutes. Let me talk about the positioning of the ArcServe 8000, again, GA in November. First of all, what I'd like to say is that we're very, very proud of the success we've collectively had with the 7000 series. As you know, we've done very well. Some of you have been very successful selling it, and we want to keep building on this success by combining even better hardware with our UDP software. What I should point out here is that UDP does not change. It's UDP 6.0. So UDP, the version of UDP is exactly the same on the 8000 as it is on the 7000 series today. However, in the future, in the next few months, you can expect a new release of 6.5, very likely, of UDP, and we believe it will be 6.5 in terms of its version number, at which point it will be possible for customers, as is customary, to upgrade to 6.5, whether you're an appliance customer or a traditional software server deployment type of customer. In addition, after 6.5 ships, or any further releases, we will upgrade or update the image that is on the appliance. So just wanted to point that out. To be clear, 6.0 is the software. So we have a number of new capabilities with the second generation appliance. We'll go through some of the hardware upgrades that we've invested in, and you'll see there are a number of goodies that should please make a lot of you very pleased. We've listened very, very carefully to your feedback. I just want to point out that this is something that has been based on the feedback that you've provided us with. And one of the areas that we've worked on is increasing the ability to go into larger capacity type of environments. And it's definitely a challenge in the mid-market. We know that, and we want to keep working on going up market with you and to serve those customers with larger capacity. So also in the future, 2017, we'll be delivering a field expansion capability, but we'll get back to you on that in the next few weeks and provide you with the details, how that's going to be rolled out, what your role will be, and how we can work together on that. So stay tuned, but just know we've also built in the life cycle of this appliance the field expansion capabilities in order to meet the requirements and the requests that you've made. Going into the positioning of this solution, this is the ArcServe portfolio, and this is how we look at the market. So I want to point out for some of you in certain geos, you will see that the way we segment it may be not exactly mapping with how you would segment your own market in terms of number of employees. I know it's not perfect. Understand we're a global company, and we're sort of taking the average, if you will, to be able to market and identify the segments that we want to cater to. So we determined that the mid-market is really 250 to 2,500 employees. Again, your mileage will vary depending on your country or your geography. Enterprise is 25 and over. There may be other ways to look at this, and certainly there are in terms of how much data, how many servers, how many virtual machines, etc. But at least the number of employees is something that I would say everybody can look at with some level of understanding of the measurement. It's harder to go look at these specific environments. So SMB 50 to 250, we covered that really well with the original series of the appliance as well as some of the mid-market. Now with the UDP 8000 appliance, you can really span a very broad spectrum of the market. Our focus is to go up in the mid-market segment. Because we have larger capacity capabilities now. And as you can see, our cloud offering is a perfect complement and upsell to an appliance deal. Also works with regular UDP deployments, certainly, but typically we've seen that the requests around cloud or around appliances tend to call for some cloud SKUs as well. So this now again gives us the 8000 series gives us the ability to go to the top of the mid-market and span a very broad spectrum of the segment. We believe this is something that will be great for a number of you who sell into that part of the market. The other thing I want to point out, we also do very well with what I call the decentralized enterprise. So think of it as it could be a very large company that has a number of branch offices over a geographically dispersed area. And this is a great play for an appliance whereby you can provide local data protection with built-in replication to a consolidated data center. As you know, that's what you can get with UDP. Certainly with the appliance, you get the combination of ease of use, everything in one system, easy deployment, and of course the great capabilities that we provide for disaster recovery. So let's move on to sort of the market overview a little bit in terms of what we really have as an appliance, because there's a lot of conversation today with a number of newcomers who may have taken a view of the market that is a bit different from what traditional vendors have done. So traditional backup appliance is essentially what this describes here. By the way, this is the analysis from an analyst firm called ESG. Actually, they're quoted in our press release tomorrow. And I've worked very closely with Jason Buffington, who is their principal analyst, and is extremely knowledgeable, many years in the business. And he's come up with this taxonomy of the market and the type of appliances you see out there. And it's something that I really want to spend a couple of minutes on because it's easy to use this model to explain it to your end users if they're looking at maybe changing the way to do backup and the way they want to leverage appliances. So first of all, in his analysis, he's identified the traditional turnkey solutions as being backup appliances. It's true they've been around for a while. They were originally more like bundles of servers and networking components and et cetera. And certainly it's evolved quite a bit to be where it is now, a more fully tightly integrated solution that has everything built in, including all the licensing, et cetera. And that's what we're delivering for sure with the ArcServe UDP appliance. So in many ways, it's a traditional backup appliance, but it's a little more than that. In the market also, in the past few years, we've seen the emergence, if not the explosion, of deduplication appliances. Typically, those are not like our solution because they are target deduplication appliances. They require another backup software to be backing up to them, and those appliances then dedupe the data. And the reason why that's happening is that backup was so inefficient, you needed to add deduplication as a post-processing element or as an after-the-fact thought. So it worked really beautifully. It was certainly very, very helpful for many years. But I look at this as very different from the global source side deduplication that we offer with our software UDP. So you can argue very easily that our appliance, the UDP appliance, is not only a backup appliance, it is also, by virtue of running UDP, a deduplication appliance. Essentially, it's that combination that makes it very interesting, and that's why it's placed in the middle of these boxes. Now, in emerging technologies and emerging offerings, what we see is failover, high availability, BCDR, business continuity, disaster recovery type of appliances. And those are, again, not the majority of the market, just the beginning of that category, but definitely an area in which we fit perfectly with UDP. By definition, we do that with our capabilities. In addition to that, we have seen some cloud gateway type of appliances hit the market where they essentially cache local data, send it off to the cloud. There are multiple interpretations of this. By definition, again, with UDP, you do that. Not only to public clouds with support for Amazon, Azure, and others, we also have the disaster recovery as a service cloud option with the ArcServe Cloud. You can also leverage our capabilities to run the UDP software as a service. So there are many, many options to provide essentially cloud type of services. And in many ways, the ArcServe UDP 8000 series is right at the heart of these four categories. The traditional being the top left, where most of the business and market understanding is. The bottom left being what is really changing in terms of how deduplication is performed. We do it at the source, not at the target. And then the early offerings, the emerging use cases that we see as very, very critical to the future with high availability and cloud. We're right there in the center. UDP helps you do all of this. The appliance is a great way, a great modality to provide all of these capabilities. So let me go through what's new before I turn it over to John Benjamin, who will take you through more details. Here's some of the meat you're looking for. 4 base models, starting from a 4 terabyte usable storage up to 80 terabytes. Again, that's usable storage, so it's not necessarily how much source data you can back up to it. Remember, we have deduplication, so depending on the parameters that you input, you will get different results. We believe we can back up to 2 or 3 times the actual usable as far as source goes. So if you have, say, 200 source or over 200 in source, we can probably fit that on an 80 terabyte system. But again, your mileage will vary, and John will show you some examples to demonstrate that. But again, remember, deduplication gives us the ability to go after larger source than actually storage on the appliance. The ability to expand storage in place will come in 2017, and we'll give you more details in the next few months and weeks. And what we've done is we're doing away with the V models. So we have now a very configurable setup where you can just add RAM as needed as you size the environment for its virtual standby and instant VM needs. Remember, this runs 6.0, so you can now do instant VM as well. We've added essentially all new componentry, new HDDs, new RAID cards, new memory, and brand new processors, dedicated SAS, which is, I think, a request we've heard multiple times for tape libraries and higher performance, redundant power supplies with hot swappable capabilities. And again, the next generation or new generation Intel SSDs are really great to allow us to even further optimize our deduplication, write speeds, and all the lookups that need to happen. So in any sense, in any case, in many ways, this is really a very, very beefed up appliance here compared to the 7000, and again, it runs UDP 6.0. So as I look at the models in a little more detail, and you'll get to see the specs sheet, and it's a true eye chart, so I've simplified it for you here. The first model is creatively called the 8100. You can see in terms of raw terabytes, it's 4 to 6. We believe it can go up to 18, but again, your mileage will vary, so it could be less depending on retention policies, data rates, data change rate, and a number of other factors. The 8200 goes up to 12 terabytes raw, 40 terabytes for the 8300, and then 8400 is up to 80 terabytes. So you can see we used to stop at 30 terabytes, so sort of midway where the 8300 is positioned today. Now we can go up to 80 terabytes, so almost 2.5 to 3 times as much. So significantly more capability to go up market in terms of capacities, or use the system for longer term retention for those customers that want to use it as a quasi-archive, which is also a use case you can certainly work on. Remember, we support all of the capabilities of UDP. John will talk about something new that we're doing with this version of the appliance. We're going to allow upgrade from the ship with the box advanced to a premium plus, and potentially this way run recovery replication high availability RHA on the box as well, providing you with essentially high availability CDP type of capabilities. But again, stay tuned for more details from John. Just know that this is something that we're allowing with this 8000 and we're introducing. Okay, so competitive highlights. There will be more details on this. We will have a competitive set of deliverables made available to you through the portal in the next few days, such as battle cards, as well as PowerPoints. In the meantime, just to give you a glimpse and to explain something in terms of how we do, how we build our products, we look at the market very closely, and we look at every feature function that matters. Not only for the appliance, but also for the software, and really here it's a combination. And we really stack rank our capabilities versus what we see from competitors, and we use a number of models that are very complex. I don't even understand half of them, but I can tell you that we're not complacent. We are not complacent when we look at this, and we really do our best to compare ourselves and understand what the requirements are for the mid-market. So our capabilities are listed here in the various dimensions. Again, this is just a glimpse of how we believe we compare. We will have more details on this in the next few weeks, and certainly the next few days with some tools you can use. We feel we rate very favorably in a number of areas against key vendors and other competitors. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this today, but we believe that we'll start seeing some competition against NetBackup at the low end of their market, high end of our market, which is the mid-market. Certainly Barracuda, Unitrends, and Rubrik have been vendors we've seen. Mostly, I would say Unitrends in North America, and then some Barracuda as well across the board. So again, this takes a little more time to explain how we arrived at these results, but we feel extremely confident that we have the most competitive solution in the market today against these vendors. And as long as you stay within the parameters of the capacity and understand again the band in which we play, clearly we have a very, very competitive solution that's feature-rich, that's easy to use, that does not require professional services, that is deployed, and that can grow with customer requirements over time. So I wanted to provide you with a top 10 just to as a reminder of this first section, which is really focused on what's new, the 8000 unit and appliance and its positioning, but I gave you a bonus one, so I have 11 points. So first of all, it doesn't change from the 7000. This is still the set it and forget it appliance. The UDP 6.0 and the Wizard on the appliance are not changing. You still have those. It makes it a very easy to deploy solution. Number two is essentially what I just mentioned, the Wizard. Number three is really the fact that this is the next generation of appliances for us. We've significantly beefed up the capabilities of the solution, and we'll be adding in 2017 field expansion service. We have created a very modular portfolio, so stay tuned for details on this. We can now really configure the environment granularly between the 4 base models, the capacity you can add, the cards you can add, and the memory you can add to support virtual standby and instant VM capabilities. So I mentioned the source capacities. We believe that we can go from a few terabytes to over 200 terabytes of source backup environments that we can protect. The componentry is enterprise grade, so you've seen some of the specs. This is definitely an improvement and something that I believe customers will look at very favorably. And as a reminder, again, this is still UDP, no change. It's the advanced capability of UDP, and you also have the ability to upgrade to a Premium Plus edition on this appliance. Our cloud option is not to be forgotten. It's a great complement to any appliance or any UDP deployment. And then remember that our performance stems from having, again, some great SSDs for deduplication. Deduplication is a key differentiator, and it's really the one I wanted to think about as you go through comparing ourselves to others. When people talk about deduplication, let's look at the results. And I think you'll see that we fare a lot better than many other vendors that say they have it. And finally, and importantly, it's interoperable across the UDP schema or the other UDP deployments. So you don't have to sell only appliances. You can sell software with a server deployment where it makes sense. There are many options there for you to provide the technology in the form factor that lends itself best to your individual customer requirements. Of course, appliances are great, but in some cases, a software deployment is perfectly fine, and we certainly encourage it as well. So with this in mind, I'd like to now turn it over to John Benjamin, who is going to take you some of the next parts of this presentation, and starting with the so exciting licensing, John.
Thank you so much, Christophe, and I have to echo your excitement today as well. We continue to build upon the successes of the foundation we laid with our other software and hardware investments and the feedback that you've given us, but it hasn't stopped there. Archster, we continue to innovate not only at the software and hardware and technology level, we continue to do that also at the licensing level. So, Christophe, please take me to the next slide. So here we're just taking, again, just a little deeper look at what Christophe has already touched on, which is the also hardware terabyte breakdown by model. Again, as he indicated, we have 4 models which have corresponding base storage capabilities at the raw level. The 8100 is a base 4 terabyte unit, but you can add up to 2 additional terabytes to that model as far as an expansion disk. And then, of course, we will talk about some of the memory and other options that we can also add there. The 8200 series is a base 8 terabyte model. It comes also with the ability to expand another 4 terabytes with additional expandable disk. And then we go to, and this particular unit, again, gives you more RAM as well. Again, customizable primarily for the virtual standby augmentation if you so desire. Now we get to the 8300. This model really starts to give us even greater selectability of expansion capabilities. So it is a 16 terabyte base unit, but now it gives you the ability to add 4 terabyte expandable disks up to 6 additional disks for that particular environment. So you're really going now from a 16 terabyte opportunity of a total up to 40 terabytes of raw storage, expandable and increments. Now we do this at the factory, and we want to make sure, as we talked about, there are reasons for that. Now for the 8400, we really take that growth from a base 32 terabyte entry level, and now we allow you up to 8 expandable disks. Pardon me, 6 expandable disks at 8 terabytes each. So 6 additional storage increments at 8 terabytes each, giving you the ability to have up to 80 terabytes of total raw storage. Now, as many of you may know, Our I2 technology, which is our infinite incremental forever, gives us the ability to really consolidate just the change blocks in the snapshot or backup to really allow more data to be stored on disk. Coupled with our deduplication really then gives us the ability to, as Christoph articulated earlier, to have a higher percentage of source data. We've seen customers, we quote 3x because we'd rather under commit and over deliver, and from a performance perspective. However, you'll see customers who've gotten even higher than that, and there's some statistics online that talk about that. Additionally, we have the additional expansion cards. We really wanted to look at what we can do to take the success and technology that we had in the 7000 series and expand that to a new level, allowing greater flexibility for you to now have tape libraries and other connections to external storage and make that as efficient and customizable as possible. These will also come in handy, especially when you're looking at adding additional RAM and things of that nature. As Christoph indicated, the appliance ships with the Advanced Edition. Now we're offering, as of September, the ability to upgrade that image from the Advanced Edition to the Premium or Premium Plus. Now, what that will allow you to do is take the appliance, that's why the additional disk here, additional memory really comes in handy. You'll now be able to make the appliance a target for high availability from our standalone software if you wanted to, as well as perhaps making it a backup server for things beyond what we have done in the Advanced Edition, which is primarily Exchange and SQL. If you add the Premium Edition, now you'll be able to use the ArcServe appliance as a target for maybe backup of Lotus Notes and Unix servers, but that has to be done. We'll talk more about that in a very careful fashion as we look at our storage estimator. Next slide, please, Christoph. All right, great. So from an expansion capability, we do want to emphasize this once more. The expansion right now is done at the factory level at this particular point. You will see additional information coming out in the coming months, and as far as what we're going to do from a field expansion, we recognize that there are times things change, and customers need to be able to, on the fly, make additions to their environment. But we want to make sure that this is done in a fashion that is very smooth, very efficient, and it allows for the greatest productivity for our end users. So you'll see additional information coming out in 2017 related to that. And if you continue to stay in tune with your partner account managers, territory account managers, and keep yourself acquainted with the partner portal, you'll see updates coming out on a regular basis related to that. So remember that there's only one statistic to really keep in mind is don't undersize the appliance, and that data continues to grow. One thing is for sure, there's going to be more data tomorrow than most people have today. All right, please continue, Christoph, with the next slide. Here we're just showing you an example of how the licensing will work for the 8000 series ArcServe appliance. When you license the appliance, you license the hardware first, and then you need to license the corresponding maintenance, 1 or 3 years. Here I've highlighted the actual appliance or the hardware pieces in the kind of the orange or gold color, and then the maintenance in that lighter gray. So in this particular case, I'm showing the appliance license only. I'm showing that we've selected appropriate maintenance for this particular customer, and this particular maintenance I've chosen the 3-year Platinum Plus, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. When you add the expansion disk, again, another piece of hardware, you're going to license that expansion disk in advance. We'll talk about that using the guidance that we'll get from the storage estimator. You also need to license the disk with the appropriate maintenance times the number of disks. So in this particular case, again, I've added additional disk, and of course you multiply the number of disk by the terabytes necessary for that particular appliance, and then do the corresponding maintenance with that one as well. And of course, double check, making sure you've got the proper Platinum Plus maintenance there as well. Very configurable, very flexible, and we're really trying to make sure that we're doing a lot to make this beneficial for all segments of the business. So as we've done in the past, we have commercial licenses as well as not-for-profit or government licensing. So please make sure you clarify which licenses are necessary. As far as cloud, We do have the ability to connect to the cloud as well, and we'll talk more about that as well, but we're doing some very interesting things as far as the customizable capabilities of the cloud as you look to put these two strong technologies together, the on-premise capabilities of either our software or appliance coupled with cloud. Next slide, please, Christoph. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the support that comes upon. I mentioned a couple things about that. If we go to the next slide, we'll show some of the maintenance options. We recognize that as you sell anything, there is a different level of understanding as far as functionality, be it a small two-person operation to a mid-market or small enterprise organization. But you want to be able to have the appropriate support. So we added the ability, as all appliances, as with our software, Gold and Platinum maintenance. Here with the appliances, the Gold maintenance, again, gives you the ability to have not only the on-phone technical support, access to upgradability to the next version while you're on maintenance, but also hardware support on-premise. Again, there will be additional details in an FAQ that will outline those details in a greater fashion, but just in a broad sense, you can get 24-hour hardware support after the proper diagnostics have been done and triaged through our support organization over the phone first to make sure it's not a software issue. If it's a hardware issue, we'll get the appropriate hardware professionals involved, and then upon the parts being on-premise, then we get into the actual on-site turnaround time frames. The Platinum edition of the maintenance gives you not only the ability to have that same on-site protection that was offered by Gold, but it shortens that and gives that to a 24-hour period. Again, please take into consideration, we always do a triage and understanding what has been done. Is it a software issue? Is it something that we can do over the phone as far as upgrading hardware that may have come in the box in the Platinum edition? And if that's not done, we then go from our software to our hardware experts. They diagnose it. We then make that conversation. If it's something that needs to be done on site, once that part's on site, then we invoke the 4-hour turnaround. The Platinum Plus, this is something that I really want to encourage you as partners to leverage for a couple of reasons. This is for customers who really want to future-proof their environment, keep up with the latest technology as far as hardware. For the refresh program under the Platinum Plus, they are able, after that 3-year period, to upgrade, at the end of that 3-year period, upgrade that same unit. Let's say they stayed in the same capacity, but they would get the updated hardware and infrastructure enhancements at the same level. The upgrade program will give you now the ability to not only get that appliance in a newer state, but you can upgrade to the higher edition at a discount that we have a pre-formatted SKU in our price book. And that particular Platinum Plus gives you a significant discount on the next level up appliance so that the customer can continue to protect their environment with the latest technology with the appropriate capacities that they need for their business for the best ROI and investment for future-proofing their environment. Christoph, let's step to the actual next slide. Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit now about the appliance sizing. This is probably the most critical portion of my presentation. Next slide, Christoph. Because the actual storage estimator, which is an online tool, really helps make sure that we're working with the end user, the customer, to identify what it is we're protecting and how they would like to protect it, and looking at that as far as that protection over time. So it's an online tool. It allows for the appropriate appliance selection. It also offers ability to select the appropriate hardware components if they happen to use just our software only. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we identify the first full backups, the incrementals that the customer wants to perform, be it daily, every hour, every 2 hours, the total projected growth over time, change rate, and the deduplication and compression rate that they wish to use. This is all, although respective to what type of data that they're actually backing up, because depending upon the type of files, as we know, there's some things that compress and dedupe very well, and there are other files that do not. So we want to make sure we identify what those files are. So let's go to the next slide, and we have a specific example where we're talking about particular nodes. Now, on the first slide, one of the things that this does not take into account, I want to emphasize as well, is it doesn't take into account the virtual standby nodes that you want to add. This is just the initial base configuration. It would not take into account upgrading the appliance from the Advanced Edition to the Premium Edition, which adds additional storage and data protection capabilities to the appliance, or to the Premium Plus software upgrade to the appliance, which adds the high availability component on top of that. This does not take that into consideration, so I must say that is something that we want to make sure you talk specifically to your pre-sales consultant or your territory account manager about what you're looking to do to expand that, and we work with the end user to identify that growth. This example was showing an environment where we have 50 terabytes of data, source data we're looking to protect. We're looking to do 30 recovery points per node. We're also looking to make sure that we identify the change over year. In this particular example, we're showing a 10% year-over-year growth and a 5% change rate per recovery point. All right. So this particular game, we can see that although the 8300, now let's take you through all the different areas here. You have the block sizes which are selectable from 4K blocks, 8K blocks that can be modified. 4K blocks definitely give you a higher deduplication rate and upfront better results. The recovery may be a little slower. If you use larger blocks, then of course the recovery will be faster, but the initial backups will be a little slower. That's something you can talk to the customer about their needs. In this example, we can see that if you look at the lower right-hand portion, based on these particular statistics, 8300 was a recommended appliance at the start in the first year, but within a year they would outgrow that particular appliance. So the recommended appliance would be the 8400 series appliance, which not only allows for the appropriate protection and growth of that data in the first year, but allows that for the first through the third year protection. For this example, we want to make sure we select the right appliance, 8400, but we now have to select also the appropriate expansion slots that need to be added. So in this particular example, you would have the base unit 8400 model, which has base terabytes storage of 32 terabytes, and then we would add 3 additional expansion disks at 8 terabyte each, bringing us up to the 56 raw terabyte capacity to take care of what they need for their source terabytes. So this will give them significantly room for growth and deduplication and things of that nature. Let's go to another example, Christoph. Now, this particular example, right, probably not as conventional or maybe even realistic from a customer environment. One server with 150 terabytes, 30 recovery points, 1% year-over-year growth, 1% change rate. But I wanted to illustrate again how we would modify the actual storage estimator to select the right unit. So going through the estimator again, the center section you'll see talks about the software aspect. I'll touch about that in a minute. But in the lower right-hand corner, we again see that in this case, all first year, second year, third year growth estimates would recommend for the 8400 ArcServe appliance. In this particular case, we're going to then add expansion disks, 4 expansion disks at 8 terabytes each, now giving us the ability to take the appliance up to 64 terabytes, ensuring the customer has the capacity necessary to protect their data for long-term growth. Next example, Christoph. We wanted to then also show perhaps one that would not be appropriate. We want to show that we were cognizant and mindful of making sure that we position our software and appliance for the customer and growth and longevity. So in this example, we're showing an example where the appliance would not be the de facto standard or maybe the option that would be the best choice. We're showing that this particular customer has 800 terabytes, 10 servers, 30 recovery points per node that they'd like to have. They're having a 10% year-over-year growth, a 5% change rate per node, and obviously looking at the lower right-hand corner of this estimator, it says not applicable. That's where we would like to then leverage the center portion of the storage estimator, where it starts to then identify the appropriate RAM that would be necessary, SSD, for the hash, for many of the different components that would be a part of the actual data store itself. So you can see the overall data reduction rate, the overall recovery points we have, and then the appropriate hash, RAM, the SSD recommended for the actual storage necessary. This is where your expertise from a hardware perspective would come in, and we can create a additional drag for you now to build the appropriate server. So part of what we do at Arcserve is not just sell software and hardware, but we want to make sure we're doing things that are in concert with you, the trusted advisor and that partner. You can sell additional software, or in this case, additional hardware to accommodate the customer requirements in their environment based on Arcserve UDP's forecasted storage requirements. Next slide, please, Christoph. So let's take a technical look at the actual appliance itself. This is the aforementioned eye chart, but this will be available in some of the collateral that you'll be able to access also in the partner portal. But here we're just showing, again, with greater granularity, some of the capabilities that the appliance comes with. Again, we're showing the 4 models, starting with the 8100, 82, 83, and 8400. The 8100 and 8200 are 1U units, and the actual size of the 83 and 8400 are 2U units. The base model 4 terabytes, we talked about that as well. It's 1U. It comes with 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is expandable as well. The 8200, again, base model 8 terabytes. It has also 32 gigs of RAM. When we get to the 8300, we step up that RAM capability against a base unit of 16 terabytes, but now it goes to 64 gigabytes of RAM. And then the 8400, again, base terabyte of 32 terabytes, a 2U model also, and it has 128 gigabytes of RAM. Now, keep in mind, the RAM can still be expanded because, as we talked about, perhaps using virtual standby, a great tool for kind of automating the recovery of nodes either in a manual or an automatic fashion, is a great way of making sure this becomes not just a, as people might look at it, an Arcserve backup appliance, but a data protection solution or a DR solution for those customers as well. As you look at the consolidated specs here, we can see that we have the type of drivers we have here. It ships with Windows 2012 R2 as the operating system. You can see the different bays are available as far as the storage. You can see the hot swappable hard drives that Christoph mentioned earlier, the appropriate power supplies, of course, by region. If you happen to have customers who have, needs outside the U.S., of course, the power supplies are commensurate with the requirements in those local geographies. But you'll see more details on this to come. But a great opportunity for you to take these specs and identify perhaps what is necessary for you to expand. Let's go to the next slide, Christoph. So upon receiving the actual appliance, what's in the box? You'll receive, of course, the Arcserve appliance. So the customer will receive the Arcserve appliance they've chose. It'll come with the appropriate power cable, network cables, typically 2 of them, the rail and rack mounting capabilities for different configurations in the actual environment. The 83, 8400 should include also SAS, HBAs, and quad-core NICs included in the actual configuration. But these also include, of course, your quick start guide, the ability to get this racked and loaded very, very quickly. Here you can see also some of the dimensions, just so you get an idea of we're talking about the 1U and 2U size, but also some further dimensions on what type of size requirements might be necessary from an implementation perspective. Next slide, please, Christoph. Thank you so much. So here's just a look at, again, a closer examination of some of the connections in the back. I know there are a number of you who are more technically inclined, like to have the visual aspect other than just the eye chart. This is a little easier on the eyes, but you can see the expandability and capabilities we continue to move upward and onward in the appliance spectrum to really make it as flexible and as upgradable as possible, and as plug and play as possible for your end users, and perhaps yourself if you happen to be their support organization. Let's go to the next slide. So what does it take really to get this appliance up and going? So once you rack mount the appliance, it's pretty straightforward. First, you rack mount the appliance, you connect all the appropriate cables, and boot it up. And typically, by plugging it in, it starts up automatically. Once the appliance is booted, the Windows 2012 R2 configuration will start up. You'll complete the appropriate information for the Microsoft EULA. The appliance will rerun and reboot itself, and then you can access the ArcServe Unified Data Protection wizard from that particular point. The underlying components and systems, again, are Windows 2012, R2. We have Hyper-V Manager enabled, and a Linux VM also created as a part of that image. There are several other services that you can take advantage of. RAS, DHCP servers also running the firewall, remote desktop capabilities. We also have HTTP and HTTPS configurations. We strongly recommend HTTPS. And ports 8014 and 8015 are open. So once you finish the initial configuration, the wizard launches, and Windows will initialize that configuration to complete the setup of the ArcServe Unified Data Protection wizard. It takes just minutes. We've had some non-IT folks complete this as quickly as 15 minutes to get their initial wizard set up, and then open it up into the actual UDP wizard for operating and protecting their environments, creating their plan, their tasks, and their appropriate plans. All right, next slide, please, Christoph. All right, let's talk a little bit now about the partner portal. This is a key repository for you and us to communicate resources that are available, not only technical resources, but there may be sales resources, incentives for you, perhaps other things that we're doing to make the appliance more accessible as far as upgrades and capabilities. So there are sales guides. Of course, there's a centralized repository for that. There's one for marketing materials, dealer registration, sales incentives. And I've got to say those last two are very important to you and to us. We want to make sure you, as our trusted advisor, get the appropriate margin. So again, the dealer registration, of course, gives you that margin protection capabilities, and gives you the flexibility of getting the best possible positioning in a marketplace that's very competitive. And of course, sales incentives, depending upon times of the year or in this particular launch, there's some very lucrative opportunities out there for incentives. So please make sure, if you haven't done so already, please log into the partner portal. It's global, and in many areas it's localized for those geographies outside even North America. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so you can join us at the partner portal. It's at the HTTPS, of course, partners.arcserve.com, and then you'll be able to have access to videos. We have also certifications, or accreditations I like to call them, where you can access certain trainings for the environment the customers may be interested in understanding more about the technology. We have presentations, videos that go through the step-by-step setup of the appliances, the software, positioning of the actual technology, and more. So thank you for the opportunity today. I want to turn it back over to Mary and Christoph as we close, and look for opportunity to answer some questions.
All right. We do have a question. Actually, Megan, if you are on the line, we have a question about when the recording will be available on the partner portal. Will that be released tomorrow or today?
It will be released tomorrow.
Okay, so that'll be available tomorrow. And then, guys, the question is also asking when the storage estimator will be available.
So the new storage estimator will be available tomorrow at the same time that Megan talked about, so probably after 3 a.m. Eastern. So we want to make sure it's launched in the same time as all the access to the other collateral, so tomorrow after 3 a.m. Eastern.
Okay, great. We have another question that's asking, so is the underlying RAID 6 expandable?
So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Christoph here. I think we will give you all these details in the next few weeks as we look at the field expansion capabilities. So stay tuned for that.
Great. Christoph, maybe you can answer this one. It's asking about appliance support and whether that is available in the Middle East.
Yes, it should be. We have a team that covers the area. So please get in touch with us and let's work through your specific location and take it from there.
Very good. Okay. Question from Chris. When is the 7000 series being end of life or removed from the current price list?
That's a good question. So the 8000 effectively replaces the 7000 as of GA. So I would say effectively in the price books and price list, you will see the 8000 as we go GA November 5th, and the 7000 will not be actively sold at that point. Of course, there are still maybe some customers who will have the need for specific parts potentially, as well as the maintenance components. So those will still be available, obviously. But as far as buying a new appliance from ArcServe, as soon as we go GA and effectively starting, as we announced tomorrow, we will be promoting the 8000 as the primary product line.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that we have right now. So we can go ahead and wrap up this presentation. Thank you so much for all that information, Christophe and John. It was really informative. As we mentioned, we'll be sending out a recording of this presentation tomorrow, and it'll be loaded on the partner portal tomorrow as well. If you have any additional questions, I suggest that you reach out to your partner account manager, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you, everybody, for spending this time with us, and have a great rest of your day.